This is Angela with Parker's Permaculture. Welcome back to Hausfrau Friday. This is a regular weekly segment where I talk about the homes that we all live in and care for, and the pursuit of sustainable living and how those things weave together. Now, I have a theme that tends to run through my work, both in the Hausfrau Friday videos and in my regular weekly permaculture videos, and that is accessibility. Because I have been caring for my elderly father who is blind, and because I have kids with disabilities, I have become keenly aware of the lack of accessibility in our culture when it comes to folks who have disabilities. Now, I've talked also about lack of access and how that pertains to folks who are socioeconomically disadvantaged, to how folks who struggle with systemic oppression and issues like that have a lack of accessibility. I don't want to touch on that in this video, but you're welcome to check out my other videos on the subject, and I hope to talk about it more in the future because social permaculture is really important to me and important to all of us. But for the context of this video, let's stick to disability and the ways that we can increase accessibility for folks who have every right to have a lovely home and care for it, who have every right to dive into gardening and crafts and hobbies, and who want to pursue a more sustainable way of living and being. I talked quite a while ago in a video about accessibility for folks with disabilities and how the most sustainable options aren't always available to us. For example, folks may need to use plastic containers, plastic straws, disposable containers and products for their medication, for their food, etc., etc. I don't want to criticize, I never want to criticize folks who have disabilities, who are struggling to make any kind of choice in a system that is not set up for accessibility. So when we see folks with disabilities who can't access the sustainable option, it's because there may not be one that works for them. And that is a fault of our whole society and how we are letting folks down who need to be included. So I've spent my whole life as an able-bodied person, other than brief stints of injury that made accessibility difficult for me. But because of my dad, I've really learned to focus more on the fact that any ability that we have, any period of our life in which we are able-bodied and or athletic, is temporary. We all will experience some level of disability at some point in our lives and or be caretakers for someone with disability. So the fact that we have a focus on the able-bodied and what they need, both in terms of wanting to live a more sustainable life, and so much of environmentalism and sustainability culture is focused on young, athletic, able-bodied people that are middle class and is not accessible for everybody else. And I wish there was a way that we could change that. So I want to mention today that when we're looking at accessibility, it doesn't have to be huge, big, sweeping systemic changes, which we absolutely need. We need accessibility in our pursuit of sustainability, in the domestic sphere and in the greater culture. But there are small ways that we can promote accessibility within our homes with small changes. Permaculture says slow, small solutions. Sometimes little things make a big difference in our day. I know for myself, as I get older, I'm starting to get arthritis in my hands. My hands bother me a lot. I've talked about this in my gardening videos. I struggle with repetitive motion injuries, and using hand pruners is getting harder as I get older. I found around the house it's the same thing. I love to sew. I love to knit. I love to do things that take a lot of fine motor coordination. My hands really hurt a lot more. In fact, in the evening, I find I sit with a hot water bottle and put my hands underneath the hot water bottle because it's comforting, because my hands hurt all the time. I have recently purchased what is called a sewing bird, a small acquisition, and I'm not a fan of consumerism, so I don't think that we can shop our way to accessibility. I do think we can design our way to accessibility. So I purchased a sewing bird, which is actually an invention in the Victorian period, which is basically a clamp that's a third hand that allows you to take some of the tension and pressure off of your hands when you're sewing. It is a stationary third hand so that your hands can rest. And I find I can sew and mend my clothes and finish projects so much better since I got a sewing bird. that small item has meant a difference in my day. And it really gets me thinking about what small things we can do and promote and share with each other that increase accessibility for everybody in their homemaking, in their hobbies, in their gardening, in their desire to want to live more sustainably. I would love to hear your ideas down below. I only found out about sewing birds despite it being a 150-year-old invention. I only found out about sewing birds because of a channel that I recently found out about, which is a fiber arts channel called Crowing Hen, and I will link down to her below. She's wonderful. I love her videos. She sounds like somebody that I would want to be friends with in real life. She seems really cool. It's only because we are sharing knowledge organically in kind of a grassroots neighbor to neighbor, friend to friend, social media to social media kind of way, that some of these tips and strategies and techniques get shared in the first place. I would love to be able to promote and share and talk about small ways that we can help each other, that we can help extend accessibility to each other. So if you have ways that you have found that your work in the home is more doable, that you have found that your work out in the garden is more doable, tools and tips and strategies that have helped you, please list them in the comments. Things that have worked in my household and been immensely helpful for my 2 kids with dyslexia, being able to have software so that they can dictate. Being able to have software that will read textbooks to them means they can absorb literature and create literature at the same speed as somebody who does not have dyslexia. Those tools, those advances are really important for accessibility. And I think that when we are looking at sustainable living, we have to be innovative. We have to be innovative so that we can be inclusive for everybody. So again, please share your thoughts down below. I want to know more ways that we can ease those small burdens and make things more doable, more approachable, more achievable, and less stressful for each other. So thank you for watching today. Please be sure and click like and subscribe. Please share your thoughts with me, and I'll be back very soon.